Good morning. My name is Janet Sumner, and I'm the Executive Director at Wildlands League. We host Paddle the Rouge every year, and I'm speaking to you right now from the Rouge National Urban Park, where I have a whole bunch of lily pads just behind me. My trusty notes with me, and hopefully I can steer clear of all the bugs that are landing on those lily pads. Now, the blackbirds and the swallows don't mind those bugs. In fact, they're feeding on them behind me. You may see a few blackbirds and swallows diving down to get their breakfast. Or maybe it's their lunch, because they're up pretty early. Anyway, Wildlands League is an environmental charity, and we are experts in protecting the natural world. Rouge is just one example of our work, where for 30 years, groups worked tirelessly to protect the Rouge. And we came in and sealed the deal by making sure that we got ecological integrity in the legislation. That's our expertise, is understanding the legislation and helping close the deal. Our work made sure that ecological integrity is the highest requirement for the management of this natural area. It means you're managing basically for the habitat and the homes of all the creatures that live here. And there are over 1,700 species in Rouge National Urban Park. I was absolutely blown away by that when I heard that. It's a Carolinian forest, and you're going to hear more about this later, but there's endangered species here. There's all kinds of values in this park that we hope to preserve for eternity. As I said, we're experts in protecting the natural world, and I'll give you a little bit of a taste on what we do, whether we're sleeping with polar bears or walking with caribou, or sometimes just surrounded by belugas. There was this one day where we had paddled up the Winnis River right into Hudson Bay, and we didn't paddle. We were in a motorized canoe with the First Nations up there, and they took us out into the bay, and we were just come out into the bay, and then literally there must have been over 100 belugas swimming with us, kind of like they were dolphins. And now we are working with the Indigenous people in the north around protection for the marine creatures and a national marine conservation area. We do all kinds of work across Canada, and our job is to protect nature. So back to Paddle the Rouge. It is our 7th annual Paddle the Rouge. Whew, time has flown. It's an annual celebration, Paddle the Rouge. It is a celebration of what we now have as the park. When we started, we didn't have a park. We make sure to have fun in nature, teach others how to have fun in nature, learn to paddle, and we have music, and usually we have games and crafts and face painting and all kinds of things while we're out here in Rouge National Urban Park, down at the mouth of the Rouge River. We have survived drought years and flood years, and we always rise above, and this year is our perhaps most unique challenge, not our biggest challenge, but our most unique challenge. And that is because we're actually going and doing a virtual Paddle Rouge. Some of it is live, some of it is pre-recorded, as you'll see. But it's just a fascinating, this swallow just almost careened into the boat, but dodged at the last minute. Anyway, we are celebrating our 7th annual Paddle the Rouge. It's a virtual Paddle the Rouge this year, so thank you for being part of it. The first year was our drought year. That was because we did the paddle late in July, and we did that because it was our test year. We wanted to see if we would actually get anybody to come out and paddle with us. That year we had about 31 people. I think there were 12 youth, and the rest were adults, some volunteers, some board members, some staff. But we basically had 31 people that very first year. And when I say it was a drought year, is when we were paddling up the river, you could when you hit that one bank that you went around, it was so shallow there that if you were even remotely in fear of tipping, you could step out of your boat because it was only 18 inches deep. That's how shallow the river ran in some places, and in some places you would actually ground out. Probably not in a kayak, but in a canoe for sure. And so we had to caution people as they were going up the river that they had to stick to one side or the other so they could stay in the deeper parts of the river. And that was our drought year. Since then, we've had 2 flood years. And I'm going to see if I can turn around a little bit so you can see the docks behind me. Maybe I'll just get a little bit. I don't want to get the sunshine too much, but just so you can see. Maybe I can't, maybe you can't. Anyway, I wanted to mention that the docks behind me, because for those 2 flood years, we had to actually build docks. crazy, right? And we would not have been able to do it without the amazing volunteers that we've had. But the water was as high as the dock, and in some cases, the existing dock, and in some cases, lapping over. So we had this, we have this amazing staff person, Trevor Hesselinkin, who was the grand master architect of this. I swear you can give Trevor a ball of twine, some screws, and a few planks of board, and then he takes storage containers and made beautiful docks as if they looked like they'd been there all along. And he did that 2 years out of the 7 to make sure that it was safe for everybody who wanted to get out and paddle, and we could still make sure that the paddle went ahead. So we've gone to extreme lengths to make sure that we could do Paddle the Rouge. And this year, it's coming to you virtual. So last year we had over 500 people attend our Paddle the Rouge. We taught 100, or a little bit more than that, about 105 youth how to paddle. Every year it's such a special treat to be out on the water with youth. I think that is the addictive quality about Paddle the Rouge, is that we love the smiles. The kids just look so thrilled with themselves, and they should be, because they've learned to paddle that day, whether it's in a kayak or a canoe. And it's so funny to watch the parents who are eager to see their children get out on the water at first, very, very eager. And the kids might be a little bit apprehensive, it's something new, etc. But we always have good instructors, and they get out on the water, and they're nervous at first, and then they start learning, and they're feeling a little bit more confident. And as the confidence grows, we take them out into this lily pond here, and we teach them how to paddle here, because an enclosed area, relatively safe. Also really good for wildlife sightings. You can often see blue heron fishing just off the shores over here. All kinds of birds, as I said. One just actually went down for a fish as I was looking over in that direction. And you get a great view of the park this way. So we take the kids out, and as the youth are in the boats and they're paddling away from their parents, the parents start to look more apprehensive and kind of clutching at themselves. And the kids are like, "Yeah, see you, Mom," and they're having a great time as they go out into the river. So it's the smiles that are our addiction and have created such a desire to keep doing Paddle the Rouge. As I said, last year we had over 500 people. We had brilliant sunshine. It was, we didn't have any of the other challenges. We have musicians, we had fiddlers. Victoria Ye came and played, and everybody's always fascinated by Victoria's violin playing. And you'll see a little bit, or hear a little bit more from Victoria later on in the show. We had face painters, and it's always fun to see the kids get their face painted and then going out in a boat. This year, we've had over 500 people a day checking out our social medias and our websites in anticipation of Paddle the Rouge. So I hope you've all joined us this morning, because we have a terrific lineup today. But before I get to that, I would like to acknowledge the Indigenous people who have been stewards of this land and lived here for many, many, many years before we got here. And we have them to thank that it is such an incredible place, and we need to work with the Indigenous peoples as we manage this land. I've got to wait for the it's not a train, actually. It's a little car riding around the tracks. It's probably taking care of the tracks. We are on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat peoples, and the Métis. And we'll hear a little bit more later from a Métis historian about the history of this land. We have Virginia Barter, who is a Métis historian. She's going to tell us some stories today about the travel routes, etc., and walk us through some of that history, which I know you'll find fascinating. Personally, I always do. And if you've been to Paddle the Rouge before, you may remember Virginia, because she will often be doing a blessing of the water, and to start our day and do the land acknowledgement. But also she'll be singing and drumming, and we've had her out on the river. It's just so incredibly beautiful watching her in a canoe paddling up along well, she wasn't paddling, but Tom was paddling for her and taking her up the river so that she could pass the water blessing across this river. Quite fascinating. This morning, we're starting with Dave. He's our conservation manager at Wildlands League. He's going to do a little bit of a then and now about the Rouge. We're going to have the story of Kevish. Kevish he's a wonderful story of our experience on Paddle the Rouge. I believe Kevish came out to our second annual Paddle the Rouge. And he was a young guy back then, obviously a lot younger than he is today, and he'll look a bit different when you see him in the video than if you look back at the images of him. But Kevish, he was being really encouraged by his mom, who was volunteering with us. And Kevish got into the boat, and I'll never forget seeing him sort of, the boat was kind of shaking. He was holding onto the gunnels, and he looked nervous as he climbed in. But he got in, and he learned how to paddle that day. And then the next year, what was so incredible for me was to see Kevish in the boat, and he had his feet up on the gunnels, relaxing like it was the most natural thing in the world. And just to see his confidence build, sorry, I'm trying to swat away this bug here, and just to see his confidence build over that 1 year and that little bit of paddling that he did with us, and then I think he did a little bit more, but you'll hear more of his story today. Just fascinating. We've had so many good stories of youth not only learning how to paddle, but then taking that and going a step further. Lila and Saul, another couple of young people that I really quite admire for all their work. They've been paddling with us, I think, almost every single year. Yeah, it might have been, well, they might have missed the first year, but every single year since then, I believe they've been paddling with us. And they've really grown into it and embraced it as an issue and wanting to protect more of the natural world. They've done fundraisers, lemonade stands, and Lila even came to Ottawa with us once to speak to the Minister of Science and tell her what she thought should happen in terms of more protection for nature. So we've inspired youth. We've seen youth take up the challenge and go out forth and become ambassadors for the environment. So this is all part of our grand plan on Paddle the Rouge, a celebration, an inspiration for youth, and a way to teach people how to paddle and learn a little bit more about nature. And we hope we can do that for you today. We'll have flashback videos. We're going to show some of the volunteers. Countless volunteers have helped us do this event. Last year alone, I believe we had to have 90 volunteers help us. Anything from paddling to helping serve food and keeping the kids safe and happy. You'll see a great video from Jory. She's the Parks Canada scientist. I won't spoil it, but can I say baby turtles? Yep, baby turtles. They're just some of the species that are here in the park. As I said, there's 1,700 species in the park. Just blew me away. A little patch of Carolinian forest. I think it's now about 80 square kilometers of protection. And what we have here is 23 of these species are endangered. Sorry, this is why you have your hat. And they're endangered, and this is their home. The Rouge is their home, and that's why we have created or helped create a national urban park here to protect the home for these endangered species. The next 2 days, we're going to be on the air from 9 to 11. We're going to have fun. We're going to do some learning. And you'll get to see a virtual paddle and learn some paddling lessons from Dave. Today at 10:15, you're going to click on the link below, and you'll then be taken to a live webinar where I'm chatting with Omar McDadi. Omar is the superintendent for Rouge National Urban Park. He's going to tell you what the park is up to right now, what are some of the fascinating stories that are going on, how they're helping restore the ecological integrity and working with some of the farmers. Did you know there's farming just in the north end of this park? And some of them have been here over 200 years. I've had the good fortune to meet some of these amazing farmers, Mike and Jay Reeser and Linda, and they do some fantastic restoration and stewardship work here in the Rouge, and I'm sure that Omar will give us a little bit of a taste of that as well. Of course, as I said, we're a nonprofit charity, so if you want to donate or support more events, you'll see various buttons around my head, and you can learn more about Wildlands League. There's a button to take you there. There's games and crafts. I think there's some more buttons on the site that you can click to do that. But for now, I'm going to wish you a very good morning and suggest you sit back, relax, and get ready for Paddle the Rouge, the virtual edition. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, I'm Kevish. I've been paddling since I was 11 when I hopped into the canoe at my very first Paddle the Rouge event. I can remember it like it was yesterday. I was really afraid to get onto the water, but with a little bit of encouragement from my mom, I finally decided to get onto the water, and let me tell you, it was one of the best decisions I've made. I loved paddling from the very beginning and couldn't wait to get back onto the water. Since my very first time on the water, I've been going to tailor stand camps where I have taken trips for up to 21 days. And with some of my new friends I've made there. And honestly, at camp, I have had some of my best memories. And these wouldn't even be possible without the Paddle the Rouge event. I have also volunteered at the Paddle the Rouge event as I want other kids to also experience the same experiences that I had. I love paddling because when I'm on the water, I can just forget about everything else and enjoy the moment. It was one of the best things you can do to take your mind off any type of stress or problems. Paddling has given me a lifetime of experiences that I one day hope to pass on to my children. One of my best memories that I've had paddling was with the Prime Minister of Canada. Please welcome our special guest, the Right and Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. Prime Minister, thank you for all you do for nature. I also know you, like me, love to paddle. What is one of your favorite memories?
Hello everyone. Bonjour à tous. I really wish we could all be on the water together paddling right now, but it's great that we can still celebrate our love of the water and, of course, of paddling. You know, my favorite memory of paddling is when my father plonked me in the bow of a canoe at around 3 years old and we shot our first rapids. Ever since, paddling has been a big part of my life. So I want to thank Wildlands League for hosting this virtual event. The work you do to protect our nature and wildlife makes our communities strong and our planet more sustainable. And with the increased threat of climate change, that work is incredibly important. It's why Canada is stepping up to be a world leader in biodiversity and nature conservation. And we started with the Rouge. We answered your 30-year call for protection and delivered on our promise to finish Canada's first national urban park. We've also made the single largest investment to protect nature in our history and exceeded our 2020 target of protecting 10% of Canada's marine areas ahead of schedule. But it's just a start. On travaille présentement sur un plan qui prévoit la conservation de 25% des terres et 25% des océans du Canada d'ici 2025. Et d'ici 2030, on vise 30% de chacun d'entre eux. On ne fait pas seulement notre part pour protéger notre planète, on met les Canadiens en contact avec la nature. Et avec la pandémie de la COVID-19, on sait à quel point c'est important. By joining today's virtual event, you're doing your part to help build a world that is cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable, not just for today, but for future generations too. And our kids and our grandkids will thank us if we get this right. So thank you for being a part of this work. I hope you enjoy this celebration, and I hope to see you on the water again soon. Encore une fois, merci à tous.
Hey Anna,
Hey, Eugenia.
how's it going?
I'm good.
How's the weather out here in Guelph today?
Hot.
I know, it's really hot day.
Got a heat wave going.
Oh yeah, second day of July.
Second day.
Are you excited about Paddle the Rouge?
I'm super excited, although I'm also bummed out that we can't, have the paddle in person physically like we always do. But, we're pulling out all the stops to make sure that this year's Paddle the Rouge is the best virtual Paddle the Rouge ever.
Oh yeah, this year's gonna rock. So I know that you're the Director of Conservation Planning at Wildlands League. How did you get involved with helping to establish Rouge National Urban Park?
It's a bit of a funny story because I work a lot on northern environments, forestry, mining. I work on caribou habitat, watersheds. And one day in August, about 5 years ago, Dave Pierce, our forest conservation manager, had to go on vacation. So he asked me to cover for him. So I went into this meeting and I covered for him. And then somehow I stayed for the next 5 years to get Rouge National Urban Park established. And I worked with Janet and Dave and others. It was an all-team effort. It took 5 years, and I'm really proud of it. But it was a big job, and a lot of work. And so look at this. We've got some beautiful cedars in here. Look how gorgeous they are. It's really nice that we have some natural areas to walk in Guelph, and this is why it's so important to have the Rouge, because we want to have nature right near people so that they can go in and rejuvenate and recharge their batteries and, be better humans.
Yeah, I'm super glad that we're doing this interview in the forest. Now, why do you think park managers need strong legal tools to manage something like Rouge National Urban Park?
You know they do because, and people may not realize this, parks are under so much pressure every single day. There's pressures coming from without, there's pressures coming from within, and park managers need the tools that very clearly lay out what they're going to do in response to these pressures. So for example, if somebody comes in and says, hey, I want to tear down this forest and put up a strip mall, the superintendent says, no way, because that's not consistent with ecological integrity. So that's why we need really strong tools that prioritizes nature and nature conservation in law, and that helps guide and improve management of the park over time.
And can you give me some examples of that?
So yeah, so for example, park managers need these really strong tools. So for example, to say no, flat out, to really bad proposals, really bad ideas. You know, when somebody comes in and says, I want to drain this wetland, I want to tear down this forest and build a suburb, the park superintendent can say no right away. Sometimes when you have to build a road in the park for a particular reason, the park superintendent will want to avoid the habitat of endangered species. Moving the road perhaps around a wetland or around the habitat of endangered species might be a way of being consistent with ecological integrity. So that's another way you could use this framework. As well as, you know, as the park gets established, they have a lot of things they could be doing, like cleaning up the river. There's shopping carts in the river. They need to get cleaned up. So little things like this to big things all help make the park better and improve ecological integrity over time.
True, very true. Now, what do you hope for as Canada establishes more national urban parks in the country?
Well, I hope that they get established much faster than Rouge, because Rouge took 30 years, but I hope that they replicate our success in terms of working cooperatively with a lot of different people. I hope that they have ecological integrity at the heart of their legal framework that manages the park, and that the park managers will have strong tools, and that ecological integrity will be the framework so that our natural heritage in Canada will be safeguarded from coast to coast to coast for today and forever.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for chatting with me today, Anna.
Thank you, Eugenia.
All right, see you soon.
Hello, I'm Raymond Cho, your member of a provincial parliament for Scarborough North. I am delighted to support this year's Virtual Paddle of the Rouge River with the Wildlands League. The Rouge River is a great resource for the community. It protects natural lands, improve our water quality, help prevent flooding, and increase the quality of the air we breathe. It also offers an important habitat for wildlife. Natural protected spaces are a wonderful harbor of relaxation. They provide a place for families to connect with nature and explore outdoor activities together. I fondly remember participating in a previous Paddle Rouge River event with my granddaughter. Our parks and natural spaces help connect us as a community. They offer places where all of us of every background can meet and share our mutual love of nature and the outdoors. I look forward to when we can all meet in person to paddle this river together. Thank you for your support of this year's virtual paddle of the Rouge River with the Wildlands League. Please stay safe and healthy.
Hi, I'm Teagan, and tomorrow my mother is going kayaking and I'm going to help her set up. This is called a safety skirt. You put it on top of the kayak when you are in very rough water. And this is a paddle. You use it when, like, for steering and stuff. This is called a rescue line. when someone falls out of their kayak or boat, you throw them the line and then you pull them to safety. This is called a bailer. When the kayak has leaked and is filling up with water, you scoop the water out and then you pour it back in wherever you are. This is a life jacket. You should always have these items attached to it. This is a safety whistle. You blow on it when you're in danger. And if you fall out of your boat and you're in the water at very late night, you flash this so you can get pulled to safety. And that's it. So I hope you have a fun time kayaking. See you later. Bye.
Hi everyone, happy Paddle the Rouge 2020. My name is Grady. I work for CPAWS Nova Scotia, and I'm here in the spectacular Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes Wilderness Park, our own urban wilderness here in Halifax. I'm standing by Susie's Lake, one of the many awesome lakes for swimming on a hot day like today. Blue Mountain Birch Cove Lakes is an ecologically significant wilderness park only minutes from downtown Halifax and accessible to half of all Nova Scotians. So from our beautiful urban wilderness here on the East Coast to yours in Ontario, I'd like to wish you a happy celebration today of Rouge National Urban Park.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend. I love my family, I love my friends, and I really love nature. I'm on the Rouge River right now, one of my favorite places in the entire world. I'm very lucky to have grown up around this area, so my love of nature was just really formed right here, paddling and cross-country skiing and hiking and biking. And that love of nature really carried through my entire life. Even as a city dweller, I've always managed to come back here as a sort of retreat. Even just for an hour in the morning at sunrise, just for a paddle like I'm doing now. I think I've passed on this love of nature to my 9-year-old daughter, who loves this as much as I do. Nature is so important to me and so important to my family. I remember when my daughter was born, my husband and I did the responsible thing and we created a will, which we both thought was really funny because what do we have? Not much. But, you know, it was about protecting our daughter in the case that we are going to leave this beautiful earth. And we wanted to make sure that she was protected. And it's interesting because as she got older and she started to enjoy nature the way we do, and enjoyed going out paddling with mommy and going for a hike with mommy and daddy and starting to go camping and really enjoying this world all around her, we realized that we created this will to protect her, and we support the Wildlands League to support nature and to protect nature. And so I decided at that time to talk to my lawyer about adding the Wildlands League to my will. And it has been an important decision because I want to make sure that the world that I leave behind is a place that's safe and beautiful and protected and abundant. And the Wildlands League does all of that work. And it's important to me that I do leave behind a legacy that is meaningful to my daughter, that is meaningful to a place that she is going to enjoy, hopefully years after I am gone, which is why I decided to leave Wildlands League in my will.
Hi, I'm Rhiannon. I'm a volunteer with Wildlands League and a graduate student at the University of Western Ontario. I'm coming to you today from Warbler Woods. It's an environmentally significant area in London, and I've just come out today to see if I can find some birds. Got my binoculars here. The middle of the day is not the best time to look for birds, but I thought I'd come out and share with you why I love these environmentally significant areas and just having that chance to get out in nature. It's so important to me to be able to explore these spaces, be able to access them. Being out here really reminds me of, what's important and how connected we are to the natural world, and I think it's so important to be out here and remind ourselves of those things and remind ourselves what we have to protect, really. So I'm going to see if I can find some birds, and have to try and get some on camera if I find any for you. As you can see, there are a lot of trees in Warbler Woods, and it is usually filled with birds. It's the middle of the day right now, so it's not the best time to be looking for birds, but at dusk and dawn they're everywhere in here. And if you can even see over there, I'm not going to leave the trail, but this is actually a wildlife tree. So these trees are marked out by London Environment, and they're basically trees that are important habitat for wildlife. As you can see, it's quite a big tree, but amazing. And those trees are protected. So I'll keep walking around and I'll see what else I can find. So you can probably hear up there right now, there are some blue jays calling. Can't see them, they're a bit far away, but they're up there. So I can't actually see that bird right now, but if you listen closely you might be able to hear it.
My name is Virginia Barter. I've been a regular participant in the Paddle the Rouge CPAWS events for several years now, representing the Toronto-York Region Métis Council. Until I met the folks at Wildlands League, I had no idea there was such a spectacular natural treasure within our city. The first time I paddled the river, it was a spiritual experience. You start by launching your canoe into a vast expanse of cattail and lily-covered marshlands, so beautiful and peaceful. As you paddle through the languid waters of the lower marshes, the river narrows and you are surrounded by high embankments covered by boreal forest. The city seems to disappear as you are absorbed into this natural landscape. As you travel up the river, you see many birds and plant species that you might never see anywhere else. The Rouge is unique because there has been little development along its shores in the last 60 years. When Hurricane Hazel roared through here in 1954, its effects were devastating for the people living along the river. The waters rose so high that all the buildings along the river were destroyed. Today, you can still see the remnants of a chimney of one of the houses that was swept away. When you come back down the river, you enter the marshlands again, and if you continue to follow the river to its mouth, you see an open vista of sandy beach and churning surf ahead as the river joins the sparkling waters of Lake Ontario, our Great Lake. This is a place where I imagine European fur traders and indigenous people gathering on the beach to make camp and to trade. The Rouge is part of the Carrying Place Trail, the ancient trade route of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Wendat people. From here, they would travel north up the Rouge to join the headwaters of the Humber River. This network of canoe water routes and portage trails continued on up to Lake Simcoe and then on to Georgian Bay. When you paddle the Rouge, you not only experience nature, you experience history, the legacy of its people. Its spirit becomes part of you. Your spirit becomes part of this place.
Hi everybody, my name is Jory Mullen. I'm the ecosystem scientist with Rouge National Urban Park, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit today about what myself and my team do in the park. So we are responsible for all of the ecological integrity monitoring in the park, and that includes everything from looking at deer browse, bird communities, amphibian communities, key tree species, water quality, invasive species. But what keeps us most busy at this time of the year are the amphibian surveys and the turtle nesting surveys. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about turtles first. All 8 of our Ontario turtles are currently federally listed as species at risk. And some reasons for this include road mortality, habitat destruction, disease, as well as human collection for the pet trade and for food. In Rouge National Urban Park, we actually have 4 of those 8 species. We have the Blandings turtle, the northern map turtle, the painted turtle, and the snapping turtle. So the most common species that we're going to see are the painted turtle and the snapping turtle. The other 2 are higher up on the designation of species at risk, so they're a little more rare to see. I have a painted turtle shell to show you guys today. This painted turtle was predated, so it was eaten by a predator. It's a really common fate for a lot of turtles, especially in areas that are highly populated by humans. So we get what's called subsidized predation. So we get higher numbers of predators in areas where there's more people because of people leaving food out on barbecues, bird feeders, garbage, crops, etc. This is an adult. I can't tell if it was a female because I can't see her claws or her tail. But based on the time of the year, which I just found her a few days ago, it was probably a nesting female. So painted turtles get their name because they have red markings all over their shell and their arms and legs and head and neck, but it looks like somebody took a brush and painted them. This little guy here is a 2-year-old Blandings turtle that was recently released into the park and then predated. So Parks Canada partners with the Toronto Zoo on a Blandings turtle head starting program. Basically what that means is we collect the eggs, we captive incubate those eggs in an incubator, and then we hatch out those babies, and then they're raised in captivity for anywhere between 1 to 4 years, but on average it's about 2 years. And in doing so, that increases the survivorship of the Blandings turtles, because if they're bigger, they're harder to eat, and if they're bigger, they're stronger, and they're going to be better able to defend themselves. This little guy, unfortunately, still got eaten as that happens, but we're hoping the majority of them will survive in the wild. We have currently 8 species of turtles in Ontario, but we used to have 9 species. We used to have a turtle called the eastern box turtle. The eastern box turtle is now extirpated, which means locally extinct, but I have 2 live turtles that are a subspecies of the eastern box turtle, and they're called the 3-toed box turtle. So this year's Randy. Randy's a 3-toed box turtle. They look almost identical to the eastern box turtles, pretty much same coloration, same size, except these guys have 3 little toes on their back legs as opposed to 4 that the eastern box turtles have. So they have a hinged plastron, and they can actually close it just like a box when they get scared enough. And he's not really doing it right now, but this is to protect them against predators. The Blandings turtles actually also have a hinged plastron. They're our only Ontario turtle that has a hinged plastron, so they can do the exact same thing that the 3-toed box turtles and eastern box turtles used to do, is like close up their plastron and it protects them. So a little bit about amphibians. So we do amphibian surveys at 25 different locations throughout the park, and we go out in the evening. when the males are calling to the females. And we're looking at 6 target species of amphibians in the park. And each of those species has a unique call. So all we do is go out and we report which species are there and their abundance. So I have some frogs here for you guys today. So little dried up one. I don't have any alive frogs, but these guys were found on the road, so they obviously got hit and then dried up. But this guy's a leopard frog, and very hard to tell with this one, but it's an American toad that's really dried up. It's a juvenile. They get a lot bigger than this, and he also was found on the road. Amphibians are a great indicator species for the health of a wetland because they breathe through their skin and they're really sensitive to changes in their environment and toxins. So that's one of the reasons that we are researching amphibians in the park and trying to get a barometer of how healthy our amphibian populations are. So back to turtles. There's 2 things that Rouge National Urban Park is doing this year to help turtles. One of those things is that when we see a nesting turtle in a place that's suitable to place a protection cage over, we'll go out and put a nest protector cage over top of the nest. And that prevents predators from digging up those eggs and eating them, which in some areas, especially urbanized areas where there's a lot of people, which means there's a lot of predators, the predation rate of turtle nests is sometimes 100%. So we're trying to mitigate the high predation rates of turtle nests in urbanized areas. And another cool thing that myself and my staff are going out to do in areas where we can't place a cage because it's in the middle of a trail or in the middle of a driveway or on the side of a road is we'll go over and harvest those eggs. So we go and dig the nest up, and then we very carefully take those eggs out of the nest and place them into a fancy volcanic ash called vermiculite, and then we stick them in the incubator. So this is one of our turtle nest protector cages. It's just a wooden frame covered by mesh, and then it's secured down by rocks. So 3 important things to consider if you're putting a nest cage over a turtle nest is to make sure that it is either anchored into the ground or it is kept weighted down by some rocks that are flat. Another important thing to consider is that your rocks and your sign are not shadowing the nest. The nest needs to get full exposure to sunlight, or else it will delay or completely postpone embryogenesis, which is the development of the embryos and the eggs. And another really important consideration is to make sure that the babies, once they hatch out, have little escape holes. So as you can see on this nest, there's 4 holes on all 4 sides of this turtle nest cage, so that when they hatch out, they'll eventually find their way to one of the escape holes, and then they'll hopefully find their way to water. How about I take you guys to the incubator? So welcome to our turtle lab. So I'm going to show you guys the incubator that we keep all the turtle eggs in, and then I'm going to specifically show you 3 different species of turtle eggs. So this is our incubator, our lean, mean baby making machine. And as you can see, it's full of tubs of turtle eggs that we've collected. So the first clutch of eggs that I want to show you guys are the snapping turtle eggs. As you can see, they're almost perfectly round. They're shaped exactly like ping pong balls. The next clutch of eggs I want to show you guys are the Midland painted turtle eggs. You can see that they're oval shaped and they're on the small side. And the last clutch of eggs is the Blandings turtle. These eggs are also oval shaped, but they're much larger than the painted turtle eggs. And as you can see from all of these clutches, we've put little X's on the top in pencil, and that's so that we maintain the orientation of the egg if we ever need to take the egg out and candle them. So we just stick a flashlight underneath the egg, and then you can see the development of the embryo and the venation, all the veins in the egg. So unlike birds' eggs that have to be rotated, turtle eggs have to maintain the orientation of which they relate in the nest cavity. And that's because the embryo attaches to the top of the egg, and if it's rotated, the embryo can drown. So incubation times vary in the wild. It all depends on the temperature that is outside. But when you have an incubator and you have a set temperature, you can make a really good guess on when the eggs will hatch. And it's depending on the temperature, it's usually about 2 months. So we're looking for baby turtles in probably late August. We'll see all these guys start to hatch. Painted turtles are this big. When they hatch, they're very tiny. Most of our turtles are pretty small, but painted turtles are on the slightly smaller side because their eggs are a little bit smaller. And this is his belly, his plastron. So this is one that unfortunately died and dried up. And we're hoping to get a lot of these little babies coming out of their shells. So it's the best time of the year for us, is when we get to hatch out the hatchlings and then release them back to their maternal wetlands. So if you guys have any questions about turtles or ecological integrity monitoring in the park, please reach out to me. I love to get questions, especially about turtles. You can reach me at jory.mullen@canada.ca. Thanks for having me.
To do your leaf rubbing, you need some leaves, some paper, and of course your crayons. So all you have to do to make your leaf rubbing is pick a color. I'm going to use this blue one here. And put your leaf upside down. It's really important that you put it upside down so that you get all the veins and everything. Put your piece of paper on top of it and just rub away. Try to be firm with your rubbing. And rub all over the leaf. If you use the side of the crayon, it helps to get the textures of the leaf without too much line from the crayon. Like rub it all over here. Keep rubbing so you've got your whole leaf. Make sure you press down on the edges to get that outline. And really get into all of those little grooves of the leaf. And there you have it, your leaf rubbing. The other tip is if you unwrap your crayon, you can use the side of the crayon to get a better, more even spread over the leaf. And so this is a cedar leaf here. I'm gonna try it out and see what we get. Using the side of it, you get less marks from the crayon itself and more of the leaf. There you have it, your cedar leaf in purple. And you can just try it out in lots of different colors, and you can use different paper colors to get all the different combinations that you would like.
Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us with Paddle the Rouge Virtual Edition. Today we're going to do a Get Fit chair yoga flow today. It's not going to be so much of a flow, a little bit slower, and it's really great for everyone to try, but specifically if you work in an office environment and you want to take away some stretches that you can do at the office, this is going to be a great experience or a great tutorial for you. So you can take notes as we go. Just a few key things before we begin. My name is Nadia. I'm the executive assistant at Wildlands League, and I'm also a part-time yoga teacher. So that's why I'm so excited to take you guys through this yoga experience. And Just a couple of health and safety things. If something doesn't feel right in your body, then please don't feel pressure. You don't have to do it. Yoga is very fluid, and it's all about working with your body to make sure that you're getting the best experience. So if something doesn't feel right, you don't have to do it. You can modify, you can change it up to something that feels better in your body. And that's it. So let's get started. We're just gonna start with a gentle meditation. So if you sit upright, back is straight, you can keep your palms facing down on your knees if you want to feel a little bit more grounded in your life, or if you'd like to open up yourself to new experiences, you can have your palms facing up. And then just close your eyes. And start to acknowledge your breath. Start to feel your body settling in. Start to recognize where you are, how your body's feeling in this moment. Maybe what sounds are surrounding you. Back to your breathing. And just start to bring gentle awareness to the areas in your body that you might be feeling a little bit more tension. So oftentimes it's between our brows and our forehead. See if you can soften that area of your body. Also, we tend to clench our jaws, so see if you can relax your jaw. Taking a few more deep breaths here. To notice your chest rise and fall with every breath. And from here, just blink your eyes open. Maybe start to wiggle your fingertips, bring some movement back into your arms. And then reach both arms up, look up, allow your palms to touch. And then from here, grab hold of your right wrist and start to reach it up and over towards the right side of your body, creating that nice side body stretch. Still breathing in and out through your nose. Again, moving gently, working with your body. Inhale, come back up through center. Exhale, grab hold of your left wrist, reach it up and over, stretch. Maybe if you're outside, just observe what you're looking at. Taking in the view. On your next inhale, come back up through center, reach up, look up. And on your exhale, we're just gonna fold forward, just over your legs. Allow your head to drop. Allow your shoulders to start to relax. feel your head start to get really, really heavy here. We're always carrying our heads up so high, showing our pride and our confidence. But sometimes it's okay to allow your head to drop, to rest, and to reconnect with your body. Take a few more deep breaths. Maybe allow your eyes to close. Rise up. And we're going to make our way into a gentle twist now. Now be mindful of your body here. So we're going to reach our arms up, get nice and tall, keep your spine nice and long, and then from here place your left hand on the top of your right knee, and then you can just grab hold of the back of your chair slightly. Now if you need to, just place your hand right beside your right hip, and you can gently press this way, or if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can grab the back of your chair. Once again, keep your spine nice and long. Your gaze is behind you now. So you're twisting your neck. And once again, you're breathing in and out through your nose. One more deep breath in. On your exhale, gently twist a little bit further if that feels good in your body. If not, then just stay as you are. And then from here, gently release. Arms reach back up to the sky, look up. And on your exhale, twist once again. So now your right hand is coming on top of your left knee. You can bring your hand to your left hip, or to the back of your chair. And once again, just twist. You're gazing over your left shoulder. Once again, coming back to that breath, starting to understand the power of your breath when you slow down. One more deep inhale. On your exhale, gently twist a little bit further if that feels good in your body. Inhale, come back through center, reach both arms up to the sky, look up, maybe observe what's up above you. And on your exhale, your hands come to your heart. And we're just going to do a little bit of stuff with our legs here now. So your right ankle is going to come on top of your left knee. And now you can stay just like this. If you don't feel anything in this pose, then you can gently start to press down on your right knee. keeping your spine nice and long once again. This is a great hip flexor stretch, especially in the office. And we often spend most of our lives in hip flexion, so stretching out this part of your body is actually very important. Take one more deep breath in. On your exhale, gently release. And let's just do the other side. So your left ankle on top of your right knee. Once again, you can press down on your right knee if you wish. You don't have to. Just whatever feels best in your body. And feel that hip flexor stretch. Keeping that length in your spine. One more deep inhale. On your exhale, gently release. Bring your feet back to the floor and close your eyes. We're going to end off with a little mini meditation here, just like we started. So again, you can have your palms facing down if you'd like to ground yourself, or your palms facing up to allow new experiences and opportunities to come your way. Start to feel your body calming down with every breath. What comes up in your body when you're completely still. When you give yourself the opportunity to feel. Taking 3 more deep cleansing breaths in and out through your nose. Just blink your eyes open. Once again, reach both arms up and over your head. Stretch up, look up. Exhale, your hands come to your heart center. Close your eyes. And thank yourself for this last 15-minute practice. Thank your body for everything that it does for you. And I thank you for joining us during our Paddle the Rouge event, being part of our community and supporting us. On your next inhale, bring your thumbs in between your brows, sit up nice and tall. And together we bow forward and finish our practice with Namaste.
Wow, that's a wrap on day 1. Thank you so much for joining us day 1. We've had some amazing things on the show today. I want to give a really big shout out to the Prime Minister who took his time out of his very busy schedule to join us and give us a message at Paddle the Rouge. I want to thank all the people who made today possible, and to thank you for joining us. And I'm sure you'll agree that it was a really fantastic day. Omar, I learned so much about the Rouge and all the projects that Parks Canada has going on here. Thanks for sharing that. I really didn't know that. And the baby turtle's so cute. Thank you very much, Jory. That was fantastic. Virginia, really cool on the Métis history. I really, really appreciate that. And I'm already feeling so much more relaxed. Nadia, thank you for that little bit of chair yoga as I sit and work from home well, I get to go down to the river for my work, but as I often am sitting at my desk at home, I definitely need to do some of those stretches. So thanks so much for handing that off to us. Tomorrow, another big day. We're going to be getting some paddling demos from Dave. Dave is our conservation manager, as I mentioned, and he'll be showing you how to cross, brace, and go sideways and forwards and backwards in a canoe. I mean, I do that just without thinking in my kayak, but he is going to give you some lessons on how to do that in a canoe. Also some safety lessons, no matter if you're in any kind of boat that you need to pay attention to, the right equipment to take with you, making sure that your life jacket fits. He's going to tell you a funny story about me and a life jacket, so make sure you pay attention to that. It's a little bit of a disaster, but I've learned from that, so we don't do that ever again. We're also going to have Dilshad Berman. You may have seen her on City TV. Very funny lady. She's been out paddling with us a number of times. To say that she faced her fears is an understatement. Dilshad was terrified that first year and the second year. But Dilshad is quite fantastic, and then she'll just go out and get in the water again, and she's going to tell you all about that. It's been a real treat having her on Paddle the Rouge, and I'm sure you'll enjoy her retelling of the story. And we're going to have a Guess the Animal game. We'll also have Brian Massey, who is the MP in Windsor. He's one of 3 MPs actually working to make sure that we have a National Urban Park down there. What you may not know, and this was actually fascinating to me, is that the Ojibwe Shores area has a walnut savanna and an oak savanna and tall grass prairies. The tall grass prairies are like a great big sponge, and they can absorb water and release water, and it means that they help with drought resistance and flood resistance in times of when there is drought. And did you know that Windsor is the flood capital of Canada? It's also the endangered species hotspot. So you're going to hear a little bit more from Brian tomorrow. He's going to be talking about why he'd like to see a National Urban Park in Windsor, and we're working on that project as well. We've worked on the Rouge and made sure that that became a National Urban Park, and now we'd like to see Windsor have its own National Urban Park. I think it's a fantastic idea. There's some endangered species down there that would really benefit from it, and of course all the people who live in the area would also benefit from it. We're working with Chief Mary Duckworth from the Caldwell First Nation on that project as well, and she and Brian have brought us into the fold and helped us understand about the incredible values that are in the Windsor area. So you'll hear more from them tomorrow, or you'll hear more from Brian tomorrow. We're going to have more yoga, some videos, some games, and of course you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope that you stay tuned tomorrow. If you want to see more of these kinds of activities, make sure you share this with your friends, make a donation. There's got to be a button around here somewhere. Find out more, spread the word, share the link, and tell people about how much fun you've had at Paddle the Rouge, the virtual edition. We'd love to hear from you as well. Tell us how we're doing. And thank you so much for attending today. And now I'm actually going to go for a paddle on the Rouge. Thank you. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.
Okay, we are live.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. This is the live webinar portion of our virtual Paddle the Rouge event. It's our 7th annual Paddle the Rouge, and we're really pleased this morning to be welcoming the superintendent for Rouge National Urban Park, Omar McDadi, and we have Eugenia, who is with the Wildlands League team. She's our outreach manager, and Eugenia will be helping manage all of the housekeeping and steering for this webinar. Eugenia, do you want to tell us a little bit about how the housekeeping works on this particular webinar, which is a bit different than our others?
Yeah, for sure. Welcome, everybody. This week, we're joining you from YouTube Live instead of Zoom. We are streaming through Zoom. I'm here with Janet Sumner and Omar from Parks Canada. Things look a little bit different today. I'm outside, obviously, and also we're on YouTube. So today will be a much more conversational style coffee shop chat with Omar about Rouge National Urban Park and its role in nature-based recovery in Canada. Just a few things. If you are joining us on YouTube, and you're interested in asking a question, please drop them down in the comment section below. We have moderators that will be watching for questions. You can learn more about us at Wildlands League and follow us on our social media handle at Wildlands League. Other than that, enjoy, sit back and relax, and let's learn about the Rouge.
Thanks so much, Eugenia. So I'll just maybe kick this off by saying, Eugenia, you're sharing your screen, right? You're going to do that. Yeah. So she's going to share the screen so that we have Omar's slides up and raring to go. But I just wanted to give you maybe a little bit of a background in terms of what we were asking of Omar. Some of you may have been watching our previous webinar series, which has really been trying to lay down the track for how nature can be at the heart of recovery. Many of us have been surviving through COVID, and it's damaged both the economy and people's health, and it's been a sort of a tectonic shift for most people. And the question now is, as we can imagine what recovery might look like, is to start planning for that when it will occur, so we can be ready for the recovery. And we've started a process of thinking around taking a landscape level look at this and saying, could you do recovery, especially in the south of Canada, where our endangered species, we have the most number of endangered species in the southern parts of Canada, where we have human settlement and farms. And we thought that we've been putting forward the suggestion that the southern parts of Canada, where we have all of our cities and our farms, should look something like this, basically these puzzle pieces, and try to unite these to build a network of nature areas. Urban protection, so Rouge, for example, is a perfect example of that. Rouge National Urban Park, first ever national urban park in Canada. So creating more urban protection in cities right across Canada, from Halifax to Whitehorse. Thinking about how you do restoration on the intervening landscape, whether it's city properties, your own backyard, growing butterfly gardens, etc. And knitting that together with green infrastructure. Now, urban protection is part of green infrastructure, but green infrastructure is many times like building more meadows, actually creating places where you have the riverbanks, where you will have concrete on either side of a riverbank, actually removing those and renaturalizing it and letting the area do what it's supposed to do, which is absorb and release water. It slows down the movement of water and increases flood resilience and drought resilience, and Rouge is a perfect example of that. And then reaching out to the rural landscape, where you have farmers and ranchers, and many of them are doing restoration projects and stewardship projects, and Rouge again is another example of that, where we have farmers who are doing restoration projects. So thinking about how all of these puzzle pieces work together in terms of building that network of nature in the southern context, where we have cities and farms. And what I asked Omar to give me some thinking about was to really talk to us about how establishing a new national urban park has not only been great for nature, but also been very, very good economically, and the types of jobs that are created there. Many people think that when we're talking about green infrastructure and urban parks, you're really just talking about tree planting. That could not be further from the truth. And so Omar is actually going to walk you through, and he was one of my first calls. I called him up and I said, I just can't find the research on this in Canada. And I asked Omar if he could help walk through that for us today. And so he is going to do that. And he's going to tell us a little bit more about how building Rouge National Urban Park has actually been a job creator. Omar, go ahead.
Good morning, Janet, and good morning, everyone. And thanks for inviting me for this great webinar and for being part of Paddle the Rouge. And I really enjoyed the morning session, and to see you out on the Rouge River. So I'm really pleased to talk about the creation and establishment of Rouge National Urban Park as a case study for ecological integrity and the restoration of natural heritage, cultural heritage, and agricultural heritage, but also to talk about the many, many positive community and economic benefits that are tied to the park's establishment and creation. And so that's what I hope to go through today and have a nice discussion with you about. And we'll go to the next slide. So I want to first off start by saying, Parks Canada all across the country, in the 47 national parks that we manage, 171 national historic sites, 4 marine conservation areas, and other sites too. Parks Canada makes a significant contribution, our places, to Canada's economy. And in 2017, 2018, our sites contributed over $4 billion to Canada's gross domestic product. So a huge player in Canada's economy. And that's money spent by Parks Canada on staff, investments in restoration and infrastructure, as well as visitor spending. As well, $2.5 billion in labor income was generated in association with our places. These are jobs and work that's created in association with national parks and national historic sites. So we're talking about a major contribution to the Canadian economy, and over $500 million in tax revenue was generated, and that money goes to support Canadians and social programs, as well as over 40,000 full-time jobs were supported all across the country. So Parks Canada plays a big role in the Canadian economy, especially in rural places where many of our protected areas are located, and now increasingly in places like Rouge National Urban Park, the Canal in Montreal, in urban centers as well. We'll go to the next slide. Now, introducing the Rouge, I've loved the first hour and 15 minutes of Paddle the Rouge because it's been such a great celebration of the Rouge, and I think, you know, working with Wildlands League the last number of years has been awesome, and I think now Paddle the Rouge and paddling is really ingrained in people's minds, and they associate the Rouge with that, and that's amazing because paddling is a great part of our heritage, a great part of living in Canada, and some of the things we can do and take advantage of outside. And we've been working with Wildlands to create the park for many, many years, and yeah, thank you so much, Janet, for all the work that you and your team, volunteers, and the community have done to make the creation of Canada's first national urban park a possibility. And many people won't know this, but Janet was part of the parliamentary and legislative process. She testified in Parliament. It's really meaningful. I heard Anna talk about it earlier, you know, the fact that we have our own legislation, a really great management plan. These things are really important because they give us the tools to manage the National Urban Park. But anyways, you can see a map here. The park is located 30 minutes from downtown, and it's the only national park that's connected, you know, to public transportation to this extent. You can take the commuter train, you can bike to the park, you can take the subway and one bus, and many people's backyards even back onto the park. So it's a extremely well-connected, protected area. In terms of, you know, what we protect, well, the park is in an urban area, and it protects. You know, I've heard a lot of talk about biodiversity in the first hour, and yes, we do have over 1,700 species. We're actually inching towards 2,000. The number just keeps going higher and higher, which is incredible. So we have, you know, some of the richest biodiversity in all of Canada, and we protect natural heritage that includes meadows, rivers, forests, species at risk.
Sorry, Omar, that's
Yeah.
amazing. You've gone from 1,700 to almost 2,000.
We are getting closer to 2,000 every day. And you saw, you know, Jory was in her team. Jory was doing a trail presentation earlier on, and they keep finding species. We've done these amazing citizen science events like the BioBlitz. We've had 3 really huge ones in the park, and now we're getting closer to 2,000.
Wow, and what do you put that down to? Is it that basically you're increasing ecological integrity, you're doing stewardship projects, reintroductions? Is it just all of that?
It's everything. It's because we're in a biological hotspot. It's because we're at the northern extent of the Carolinian forest. It's because of the restoration work. It's because of stewardship work that we're involved with many, many community partners. And it's because we have more scientists on the ground now than ever, who are able to detect and count things that maybe we didn't see before, and more work that's happening in the park with universities and colleges than we've ever had before. So all of these things amount to, you know, a higher count, and we're finding more things.
That is something to be truly proud of. And as all Canadians who have been working to protect Rouge National Urban Park, the many, many thousands of volunteers over the years, they should all be proud of that achievement. Thank you so much for letting us know that.
Thank you. And I thank everyone who's contributed to make this possible. And it's really been 4 decades of work recently, as well as many generations and thousands of years of Indigenous stewardship. The park also protects cultural heritage and is home to over 10,000 years of human history. We work with the Rouge National Urban Park First Nations Advisory Circle on all aspects of park establishment and operations, but there are also heritage buildings in the park as well. And I think what makes the park, in addition to being in an urban location, one of the things that makes the park so unique in Canada is that we protect and have a mandate to protect agricultural heritage and promote a vibrant farming community. The park is home to literally the last working farm in the city of Toronto and some of the last working farms in the region, and it's home to Class 1 soil, which is the richest, rarest, and most fertile in Canada. So we really focus on protecting nature, cultural heritage, and agricultural heritage.
So could I just stop there? That middle building there, that looks awfully familiar to me. I think that was where maybe one of the last meetings with Minister McKenna and the farmers was held to sort of help iron out the details on the legislation and gain their trust, right? Because that was needed to actually broker the deal to get Rouge National Urban Park.
So this is the Cedar Grove Community Center, which is a historic building in the park, and it's an amazing old schoolhouse. And yes, Janet, we've had many meetings there with community members, with stakeholders, with conservationists, with farmers, with our Indigenous partners. It's where we tend to have a lot of meetings, and it's a wonderful piece of local heritage.
And it's not far from Reeser Road, right?
It's just off of Reeser Road, and,
that's right,
it's the heart of the historic Mennonite community. And the Reeser family came north from Pennsylvania in 1804, and there's still so many Reesers farming in the park today. And some of them even went to this school. Now it's no longer a school that's open; it's a community center, but it has a lot of historic value.
Okay, sorry. You go ahead.
Oh,
I guess
it's great. Let's keep having these great conversations. We'll go to the next slide. Yeah. So here's the park itself and the map. And so we are located in the Greater Toronto area. The park goes through the cities of Toronto, Pickering, Markham, all the way to the township of Whitchurch, Stouffville, and up to Uxbridge. It is massive. It's one of the largest urban parks in the world. As a reference point, it's 23 times larger than Central Park in New York, 50 times larger than High Park in downtown Toronto. And Janet, you and I have talked about this a lot. We're within 1 hour's drive of 20% of Canada's population. Now, I grew up in the Greater Toronto area, always dreaming of having a chance to go to a national park, and that was my dream, and it didn't happen for me until later on in life, when I was a younger adult, going to school in British Columbia. The first ever national park I went to was Pacific Rim National Park Reserve. I would have loved to have a chance to go to a national park growing up. So I think this park, it's meaningful because it provides an opportunity for people to have their first national park experience, their first ever paddle, their first ever walk in nature. And it's a real honor for me and everyone on our team to be able to work on this project. It's a project of a lifetime. Now, because we're in the establishment phase, it means so many different things. It means we're building dozens and dozens of kilometers of trails, and we open new trails every year, including this year. We're building an education and welcome center, which is really exciting, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. We've undertaken massive restoration programming and reintroducing species at risk in the park, and protecting species at risk and improving the park's ecological integrity, and we'll look more at that. And we're protecting some of the last remaining farmland in the region. So we'll go to the next slide. Now, when we look and we think about the park as an economic driver, I kind of break it up simply in terms of the impacts being short-term and long-term. And I'd say over the last 8 years, the short-term impacts we've had are very significant in terms of the investments that we're making in the Canadian economy and in the local and regional economy. And I look at it, in terms of a few different categories, but we are providing first and foremost, good, eclectic jobs at a living wage that give people a basis to build a life in the Greater Toronto Area. So that's the core of what we're doing. Is we've created this team. We're now about 80 people, and we take care of so many different things, and I'll get into that in a sec. But we do things like obviously biology, and we have ecologists, and that's the driving life force of what we do. But there's so many other things. We have people that work in accounting and finance and paying the bills. We have wardens, law enforcement wardens, that are out protecting the park and enforcing park rules and regulations. We have our education staff. We have people that work in HR. We have people that fix things and maintain our assets and do water quality testing, and all the things that you don't maybe necessarily think about immediately when you think about a national park: plumbers, electricians, carpenters. Then there's the labor market that we're making a huge contribution to. So as we're building the park, we're providing I think this is probably the biggest short-term economic impact, is the labor income that we provide. And here I've just taken a little snapshot of the different jobs that are involved in creating a national park. And I mean, it's really significant, but we've got tradespeople that are out building trails. We have people that work in construction. We've got landscape architects. We have archaeologists, and that's being led by our Indigenous partners. We've got architects that are designing different facilities for the park. We work with Park Bus that brings people to the parks. So we're helping to employ bus drivers. Tree planting is a huge component of what we do, and we have professionals do that work. We also provide opportunities for the community and for volunteers. We've got people that plow the roads, collect the garbage, clean facilities. We have people that are soil experts. So we're trying to better understand what makes class 1 soil, and what is the value of soil, and how can we best preserve soil. We have lifeguards that work in the park as well. We developed an app for the park, so we've hired a suite of students from the University of Toronto Scarborough. So we've had software developers be involved in this project as well. And we've done public engagement. We've hired people that do facilitation, because we wanted to make sure that the vision for the park reflected the hopes and dreams of the community of conservationists, park farmers, and of Indigenous partners. And in our democracy, it's very important to make sure that we're engaging and getting feedback in the best, most objective way. So all of these people, all of these jobs, all of these program areas come together to allow us to create a national urban park. We even have arborists that come and help, because we have, in an urban forest, hazardous trees that we have to make sure our trails remain safe.
So I was in the park just the other day, and actually I've been in almost every day this week, but including Saturday and Sunday. But I would say I was marveling at the park wardens. I really like them. It's been such, like, I used to go to the park before it was a national urban park, and then now I go afterwards, right? And so the park wardens are just such a treasure, I gotta say. There was a young mom with 5 kids down there just trying to get a bit of a break, in terms of COVID, and get out in nature. Maybe they're living in a condo, can't escape it, kind of thing. And they're down there and they're trying to figure out, well, where can I picnic? Where can I take my kids? And the park wardens are so helpful. And just, putting her at ease and making sure that she had a safe place to be with her kids was just wonderful to see. And also, of course, I think maybe it was you, I forget who I was talking to, but was telling me that the park wardens, while they're not necessarily the species interpreters, they often are the people who know quite a bit and can actually help you understand, what am I looking at here? What's this plant, or what's this animal that I'm looking at? So the park wardens are both helpful in terms of just navigation, but also really helpful in terms of understanding what are the creatures that you're seeing online or seeing in the park.
Thanks, Jenna. I'm so glad you said that. And I'm a huge appreciator of our wardens, and they make such a huge difference in protecting our places. They are so friendly with the public.
Yeah.
But they also, you know, are very much at the front lines and have been, especially during COVID as well, working every day, making sure that our park remains protected in the best way
Yeah.
possible. So they're you know, real heroes of the park for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, just really quickly before we go to this slide, the last thing I want to say here is we're heavily involved in skills training, development, and capacity building. So we've hired hundreds of students, literally almost 100 now since 2013, and those are summer students that help us in all aspects of establishing and operating the park.
Well, what I've also been amazed at is just the array of jobs, right? Everything from somebody who can help with facilitation, maybe even in terms of lawyers in terms of helping design the legislation, figuring out how do you actually put all this into place? How do you make it work? How does the regulatory system work, et cetera? Hiring people who can help interpret, hiring people who can help clean and create facilities that are warm and welcoming. So I think that it's just such an array, and I think that's, I mean, one of the things I've been very impressed with is the surrounding community, from seniors to youth, is just so involved in the park. And you obviously with the Indigenous Heritage Circle are doing an amazing job there in terms of bringing to life the Indigenous history and Indigenous role in preserving Rouge National Urban Park. So it really is such an array of jobs that is involved in creating the park and making the magic happen.
Absolutely, Janet, and I think it's there's been such a variety. In the earlier years, we really worked on the legislation, the management plan, the policy, the legal aspects of things, and now we're really trying to shift our focus as we complete the establishment of the park on operations and how can we make this the best run, most sustainable park that we can have, where we reduce the amount of garbage and littering, where we completely eliminate poaching and things like that, and we manage the visitation in sustainable ways. So it's every year has been a bit different and different challenges, and as we get into really focusing on operations, it's about trying to make it the best park that it could possibly be. We'll go to the next slide. So in terms of investing in natural capital, we hear a lot about ecosystem services these days, and Parks Canada has done a rough calculation, and we think that our sites all across the country contribute about $266 billion in terms of ecosystem services. What are ecosystem services? This includes pollination, carbon sequestration and storage, food production, soil formation, clean air, and flooding control is a big one, especially in an urban context. We know how important our ravines are and valley lands to prevent flooding, and our park in particular plays a very key role there in terms of slope stabilization. There's a report from 2012 that the David Suzuki Foundation did. It was a great report, and they estimated that Rouge National Urban Park provides $115 million per year in ecosystem services and economic benefits. Now, I've rerun those numbers, or I've adjusted them for inflation, and also for the fact that we have a much larger park now, than about 25% larger than it was expected to be in 2012. And that the number comes out to $144 million that we would estimate to provide in ecosystem services and economic benefits per year. That's a very high number. I actually think that if we reran it based on what we know today, I think it would be a much higher number, because we're looking at all the different types of programming that we're doing and all the restoration work that's been done, which we'll talk about in just a second. But we know now. Sorry, go ahead, Janet.
Sorry, I was going to say, I absolutely agree on that. I think the number would be higher. Just doing the restoration projects would increase the ability of the park to absorb and allow water to flow during drought, et cetera. So this sort of natural sort of sponge it up and then release it, and how a wetland is actually supposed to work is being increased every year as you do restoration projects all the way along the river. I also think, in terms of just the species reintroduction, the fact that we're now approaching 2,000 species, having those kinds of things we didn't know back then. And so all of these services, and then I'll just give one anecdote, which I find amazing and was one of the things that I was first drawn to about the park, was that the trees in Toronto, if anybody remembers the ice storm, I think it was maybe about 7 years ago or so, and that ice storm devastated the trees in Toronto. I mean, there was all kinds of trees down. Many had to be removed, and people were, really feeling it in the city of Toronto, and just feeling how their trees were being taken away from them. But the trees in the Rouge stood tall and firm because they had deeper root systems, more complex, and many of them were native trees, and they stood as a forest, right? And so their resistance to that. So what this does is the Rouge becomes like a great example of how to create resistance in the face of climate change. Whether it's drought or flood or ice storms, the Rouge is the place that is actually helping buffer against the ravages of climate change. So this is, it's a fantastic story, and I would encourage actually Parks Canada to rethink this and maybe do the numbers, an up-to-date version of the numbers, and maybe work with some of the groups on getting that done.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, Janet. And I think, yeah, I remember that ice storm, and for sure the resilience that we have in the park actually ends up saving money because there's less damage. And obviously when there's a huge ice storm like that, that can create a lot of damage and a lot of hazardous trees and things like that. So there's a lot of resilience, and we have created this nice buffer zone. And it's a refuge, not just for species at risk, but also for people. So maybe that's a good segue for the next slide, is, we hear a lot about, in economic impact analysis, like return on investment, it's a huge buzzword, ROI. And, we know that the return on investment for investments in public green space can be very meaningful and very significant. And in particular, there's a recent study. Now, often these studies are done by Parks Canada or a conservation organization or maybe university, but this is a study that was done by a real estate and economic development consultancy, HR&A advisors, and they mainly operate in the United States. And they found that there's a 7-to-1 return on investment for every dollar spent on park development in the city of Dallas, Texas. And I think what's really astonishing is that within this study, they found that trails in particular have a 50-to-1 return on investment. And that's huge. And they found that trails can be a real catalyst for, for economic development, for community building, and for social equity as well, because it provides people a chance to connect to different communities, and it also encourages people to get involved it provides opportunities for people to contribute to the local economy through things like food vendors and sustainable and appropriate types of business near trails.
Yeah, but just things like wellness and physical fitness, and I mean, especially now with COVID, you can only just imagine how that's going to be beneficial, both from a health, wellness, and spiritual connection point of view. I mean, some people pay big dollars to go forest bathing, and you could go walk in Rouge National Urban Park as you're developing these trails and creating a place for people to connect to nature. It's just amazing.
For sure, and very much like the session that we just saw Nadia give as part of Paddle the Rouge, I think the park itself can and is already a refuge for people seeking peace, and from a wellness and mental health perspective. We do a wellness walk program in the park, and that's something that we do in partnership with the local hospital and in partnership with social workers, and it's a really great program, and I think that's what this park is meant to provide, and especially now in the time of COVID, where we can't really travel, we certainly don't travel far away. The park more than ever now is a place that people are turning to, and not just our park, but green spaces in general. These are places people are turning for refuge, for a safe, a safe place to go and to get away from it all.
That's why we need more national urban parks.
And I just want to do a quick time check. We are just over 10 minutes. We have just over 10 minutes left.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'll stop interrupting. Go ahead, Omar.
Well, we'll get through it. No, it's great. So we'll go to the next one. Anyway, so we've made big investments in the park, and we've invested a lot in ecological integrity and natural capital. So we've planted over 100,000 trees, restored over 70 hectares of wetland, we've created new forest, 26 hectares of forest habitat. This is all since 2015, not including what we've done this year. And we've released over 350 turtles in the park. Actually, we're now up to 396 of endangered turtles that have been released back into the park in partnership with the Toronto Zoo. So this has been our primary focus, was establishing, regenerating the park, and it also contributes to the economy because of the different partners, organizations, and contractors that we work with to get this work done. We'll go to the next one.
Next slide, Virginia.
We're also investing in the park's agricultural heritage, and all the restoration projects we've done have been in partnership with park farmers, which is amazing. And the long-term potential of the park is incredible. We are planning community gardens. We're going to be providing new opportunities for park farmers. This is a photo of myself and our 10-month-old baby. This is just from a few days ago. This is from the weekend where we went and picked strawberries in the park at a U-Pick at Research Market. And I think it's incredible to have opportunities like this, protected lands, class 1 soil, locally grown produce and food, and just steps away from a new trail that we just built and opened in the fall.
So this is the Research Farm, right? They now have like it's a U-Pick, but they also have a place where you can go and choose farm produce as well. It's kind of,
that's right.
Yeah. So many people used to go to Whittemore Farms, and now they're going to Research Farms because they have the ability for people to go there and select produce and get it fresh from the farm, quite literally.
Yeah, and really great baked goods, and there are many other people that are selling great things off of the farm in the park, and also tons of potential for us to go further with this, especially as we build the trails, which are the lifeblood of the park, and will provide connections for visitors and for local communities to access farm products. So we'll go to the next one. We're also making some investments in cultural heritage, and we have some heritage buildings in the park that we've been strategically investing in, piloting programs with organizations like Building Up, Blue Door, and Raising the Roof, where we actually provide skills training opportunities, sometimes for populations that face like employment barriers. So we're actually fixing up houses that are important for the park from either a cultural heritage perspective, or also sometimes they provide, actually, believe it or not, habitat for endangered species. Some of these houses have been in the park for many, many, many decades, some over 100 years, and they've actually become important roosting spots for species like bats, or in some cases barn habitat for barn swallows. And as part of our cultural heritage investments, we've worked very closely with our Indigenous partners and have an incredible archaeological program that's active in the park, including this week. We'll go to the next one. And the creation of the park very much keeps with the Government of Canada's greening of government strategy. Everything is being developed with sustainable development as a guiding principle. We're actually in the process of trying to build Parks Canada's first ever net carbon zero building, and I'm gonna talk about that in just a second. So and we've put in place just this year many electric vehicle charging stations, solar panels. It's the future is now, and this is the type of technology, and these are the types of pieces of infrastructure that we're putting into the park as the first lens that we're looking at things through. We'll go to the next one. So really quickly, Janet, you were there for the day. After 8 years, we announced the future location of our visitor center across the street from the Toronto Zoo. It's in an area that's an old naturalized parking lot, so very minimal ecological footprint it'll have, but also an opportunity to plug into the grid. We'll go to the next slide. And this location is great. It's close to the zoo, where we do a lot of conservation programming. It's close to public transportation. It's close to where our park bus shuttle goes. It's close to the 401, so you get access to people from many different communities. And it's right across, just a few meters away from a green energy source, which is where they take zoo poop and convert it into energy, so it's green energy, and we're exploring the opportunities of taking that green energy and using it to power the center. at a good value for the public. So it's a great location.
Yeah, it is a fantastic location also for the visitors, right? So if they're coming up there to visit the Parks Canada Visitor Center, they're almost just a stone's throw away from the Toronto Zoo. So it's, in a sense, as a family outing, it's a 2-for-1.
Totally, and we've got such great partnerships with the zoo. We're trying to build a conservation precinct with them, and they've been a really great partner to Parks Canada. We appreciate them very much. I think we'll go to the next one. Anyway, this slide just looks at the center and our design principles. We want to lead in environmental and sustainable design, and I can't wait, Janet, to invite you to the opening in 2024. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
We'll go to the next one. So in terms of long-term economic impact, we want to create and maintain this amazing gem, this jewel. And I think for us, when I look at what other national parks have and the things that we might have in the future, in Grossmorn, they have a writers festival. They've got in all of or most of our national parks, very established guided walk programs, heritage tourism. These are the opportunities that we are going to have here. And I think they're incredible opportunities, and it's important, I think, for sure, that locals have the opportunity to benefit, learn about, grow up in a national park, and benefit from that national park. And whether it's a summer job with Parks Canada, whether it's working for the Wildlands League, whether it's taking part in paddling the Rouge, or perhaps even going further and seeing opportunities for themselves in the park to become a guided walk leader, to create their own sustainable business in heritage tourism, to maybe even potentially become a new park farmer and start with a small piece of land. And we're working with Durham College and other post-secondary institutions on trying to develop programming in this area to encourage the next generation. Or whether it's becoming a zoologist or a biologist working in the park or for the Toronto Zoo and contributing to the park. There are so many opportunities in the future, and that's a huge part of the vision of Rouge National Urban Park.
It's truly amazing, and I think that I mean, you haven't. Are you going to do the slide about the camping, or is because we talked about this a little bit yesterday, right? That there's actually camping in the park now. It's not open this year because they're doing some renovations, but there's camping in the park. And you have one of my favorite things, which I was asking you about, which is the a context, or you say it better than I do. What are they called?
Yeah, it's an authentic, and
that's right.
Yeah, and it's, sorry, I should have included that, but we have 5 of them in the park in the campground. When that campground reopens after the renovations are complete, imagine a prospector's tent combined with a yurt, and it's a great place where people can go and learn to camp, or if you haven't camped in a long time, it's a great way to get back into it. So you've got some more comforts, and you're not in a tent, and it's accessible, incredibly accessible as well.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of got the frame of a cabin with a tent covering.
That's right.
That's how I sort of see it. And you had 5 of them, I think, when I was up at the visitor center, or the site where the visitor center is going to be. And I just thought, man, this is glamping, right? Like you could really have a great time there. Totally accessible, and just a marvel. And I've stayed at the yurts in Algonquin, but this I was quite fascinated that there was one so close to me in something like that in Rouge National Urban Park. I did not know that you had that, so that's very cool for people to know about.
Absolutely. Anyway, thank you so much, Janet and the team. And it's honestly, it's an honor and opportunity of a lifetime to get to work on this project. It means the world to myself and my colleagues, and we want to just keep trying to build the park in the right way, and in a way that meets the hopes and dreams and expectations of everyone that we work with, and including the community members that work tirelessly and for many decades to allow for this opportunity to have a national urban park.
Yeah. I'm actually just going to comment on that last slide. So that's the sunrise, is it?
That's right.
Yeah. And then on the left, that picture is the lookout point where you can, in this fall especially, you can see all the beautiful colors as the leaves are changing. It's really quite spectacular up there.
it might be the best place in the city of Toronto to see the fall colors, and it's about 150 meters actually from our future education and welcome center.
Yeah. Well, Omar, I'm going to give you a big thank you, and I have one very last important question for you. What's your favorite place in the park?
My favorite place in the park?
Yeah.
Oh, that is such a good question. It is so hard to pick one. But I think, I'm going to have to go with the Twin Rivers area.
Okay.
I absolutely love the Twin Rivers, the confluence of the meeting of the rivers. The Carolinian forest is amazing.
Yeah.
There's a high number of species at risk in the area. I've seen at 5 in the coyote and deer sitting about 40 meters from each other, just each respecting, physically distancing, and enjoying one another's company. It's an incredible place, and there are times when I am there, and I just can't even believe I'm in the city of Toronto, to be honest.
I know. I was paddling the other day up the Rouge. I mean, my favorite place is just to be on the water, paddling up the Rouge, and you just get away from the beach and all the people, and you're just on the river by yourself, and the bird song is just, it's amazing. And the Carolinian forest. I love the dappled light coming through and just how the breeze moves it. So it is truly a wonder, and I'm so glad that you're at the helm at Rouge National Urban Park and leading the team there. I've been impressed from day one that the team is just so committed to the park and to the ecological integrity, and then moving with everybody. That's the other thing, is I know it's not an easy job. I know you've got many issues, and just trying to figure out how you manage all of that and stay sane. It must be because you cycle. So that's all I can put it down to. Eugenia, are there any last comments that you need?
We do have one question. Maybe Omar, you can just give us a bit of an update on how COVID has impacted visits to the park today.
Yeah, thanks, Eugenia. Well, COVID is top of mind, and it's been our absolute #1 focus for the last 4 months. There's no doubt. We temporarily, closed park trails at the height of lockdown. Things have been reopened since June 1st, and we actually are experiencing record numbers of visitation. So it's stretched us in many ways. Our team is on the ground, and we're in the park every day, communicating with visitors, really asking people to respect physical distancing. We've upped our cleaning of the park significantly. We have a huge campaign in terms of putting garbage in the right places. We actually are now doing parking controls and compliance reporting every day, or on peak periods, especially on the weekend, to really try to encourage people to practice physical distancing and park in the right places. Our wardens are absolute heroes, as well as our prevention team. They're out there every single day working with the public. And people are so happy to be in the park. And we all need a place to go and a place to seek refuge and to be in nature. But certainly COVID has put a lot of pressures on us. Like, it's put pressures on so many other places and organizations. But I think we're managing it as best as we can. The other thing that's really awesome, I think, is we have such great relationships with the public and the local communities nearby. So we work really, really closely with community associations and presidents of community associations and their boards and members, that there's constant flow of information. So if there's an issue that we become aware of, we're able to quickly, and I mean, within minutes or hours, go and assess a particular situation and try to make it better and manage it.
Great. Thanks so much, Omar. Go ahead, Janet.
So I was just going to say a big thank you, and thanks to Rouge National Urban Park and the team there that keep us moving in the right direction with the Rouge. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and have a good day.
Okay. See you tomorrow.